Hello, hello, hello. This is Ana Dominguez, your language coach, and today we are going to read together the Unit 59. If you are preparing the civil exam for Escuela Oficial de Idiomas y Secundaria Inglés next 2023, this unit is included in the list of 68 units. So why don't you review with me this content? The 59 unit is about modern Irish narrative, selection of text, and analysis of a representative work. And you know that in my material, you have the index, then you have the bibliography, and I usually give you the links. So when you buy my material, it comes with everything very, kind of useful for you to do more research and find more ideas that can inspire you to write the unit. Because of course there are certain things that you must know about the units, but I think it's essential that you kind of create your own way of telling the unit. Yes, with your own taste, your own voice. Just kind of be more creative in the way you explain and develop the unit. So here you have the information that you could use. Then in my website, remember, go to my website, because there you will usually find a post where you could answer these 4 principal questions of this unit. Ireland in the interwar years, comment on the problem of Northern Ireland, general features of Irish literature since 1945, and Joyce Cary, who is a writer, okay? So in my website, I usually give also the charts, phonetic charts for the units, so you could also exercise more certain words that are difficult to pronounce, especially if they are Gaelic or if they are, proper names and sometimes are difficult to say. You will find that information also in my website. I keep reading. Here you have the outline or topic summary or lesson plan. This is a brief, information. The information is very briefly exposed here. So you would have here the historical background, the struggle for the Irish independence, 19th and 20th century. So I'm going to read what I have written here. The legacy of the 1978 rebellion, the failure of O'Connell's attempt in the 1830s and 40s to repeal the 18th Act of Union, and the catastrophe of the famine, I think it's l'hambruna, ¿vale? Of 1845-46 produced the Fenian Irish independence movement of the 1860s, which attempted risings in the USA, Canada, and Ireland. During the interwar years, Southern Ireland was virtually under martial law, resistant to conscription in a state of a neo-rebellion against the crown and the Protestant ascendancy, in a new kind of national revolt against the constraints of imperial rule. From January 1922, an Irish Free State consisting of the 26 Catholic countries of Southern Ireland was created, with just the 6 Protestant counties of Ulster in the northeast left with the United Kingdom. In the post-war, there was no violence in Northern Ireland, but the problem of an artificial state kept by the control of the Protestant majority from 1920 onwards did exist. From 1951 to 1973, the Fiann Fáil held power, apart from the years between 1945 and 1957. The Valera, 51 till 54 and 57 till 59, Jean Lemass, or Sen, I think it's called Jean or Sen, I think it was Jean Lemass, 1959-66, and John Lynch, 66 till 73, led the government. They got Ireland out of its isolation by improving its relations with Great Britain and by entering the United Nations first, 1955, and then the European Community in 1972-73. However, they also made an effort to give back to Ireland the economic dynamism, which it had before the First World War. So the First World War, that's another two words that we usually say wrong, world and war. The economic expansion schemes launched in 1958, and 54 contributed largely to this aim, once great efforts had been made to attract foreign capital, which allowed the industrialization of the country. The age-old racial feuds of Ireland are nearer pacification in 1995 after 6 centuries. There are Protestant extremists who want to dominate again and Catholic extremists who want the North to be incorporated to the Irish Republic. And so those who have lived, like me, in Ireland, I lived there from 2006 up till 2008. Then I moved to London, you know that story if you know me. But I lived there in Dublin, and obviously, everything was very different. But there were, things that we could see and hear and explore in the museums and talking to people about the history, obviously, of Ireland. So that's interesting. I just want you to know that. And you could also, obviously, you need to do some kind of more further research about the topic. But now we are going to talk about a well-known literary person, James Joyce. You probably have heard of him. He was the writer that wrote the Ulysses. I mentioned him in some other video. Joyce is a serious novelist whose concern is chiefly with human relationships, the man in relation to himself, to society, and to the whole race. This is true also of his latest work, though his interest in linguistic experiments makes it difficult to understand his meaning. He went further and deeper than any other in his use of the stream of consciousness technique and in his handling of the internal monologue. So remember, the stream of consciousness technique, I talk about this when I was talking about Virginia Woolf, and also in finding your creative voice as well, about the techniques that you could use when writing your morning pages, remember? Well, anyway, this is an interesting writer. Here you can see I place also pictures so you can, remember his face there. And also I place the links that you can, interact with my PDF and go directly to Wikipedia and do more research on your own. Irish literature since 1945. Writers like Julia O Faolain, John Broderick, Edna O'Brein, or John McGahern also attacked taboo themes like eroticism, abortion, homosexuality, etc., translating the current problems which Ireland is facing in its new conflicts, while the problems from the past have not disappeared. And here you have Joyce Cary picture, delighted in portraying exuberant, bizarre figures, I love the word bizarre, who existed according to a code of their own. He had the rare gift of combining comedy, even farce, farsa, with the pathetic and movingly beautiful. He detested what dull, and he appreciated eccentricity when it arose to imaginative heights. Flann O'Brian published a masterpiece in 1939, but it still awaits the general recognition that it is due. The book is At Swim to Birds, and with lesser novels like The Hard Life and The Dalkey Archive, it is unique in its experimental power, its lightly carried learning, its fusion of fantasy and Irish realism. Then we keep going with Edna O'Brein. Edna O'Brein, she said that for her, woman neither gives nor receives pleasure. She is insatiable, vamos, in her demands, making sex the instrument of her power. For her, marriage is a succession of frustrations and limitations. And that's her opinion. Frank O'Connor. Michael O'Donovan, he was called like that, Michael O'Donovan, but he signed as Frank O'Connor. He was a playwright and novelist, though he is best known by his collections of short stories, especially his remarkable Guest of the Nation. He was both a critic and a translator of Gaelic works from the 9th to the 20th century, thus serving as an interpreter of Irish life and literature to the English-speaking world. Then we have Sean O Faolain, John Francis Whelan. He is well known for his short stories about Ireland's lower and middle classes. Frequent in his works is the study of the decline of the nationalist struggle or the failing of Irish Roman Catholicism. His work reflects the reawakening of interest in Irish culture stimulated by the Irish literary renaissance of the early 20th century. Brian Moore is another Irish novelist who emigrated to Canada and is known for his first novel, The Lonely Passion of Judith Hearn, 1955. And you probably, you probably have heard of this novel because there is a movie. And you could see also a very famous actress whose name is Mary something. I don't remember her surname, but she's wonderful. She plays the role of the grandmother in Downton Abbey. You know her. He arrived to Canada in 1948 and was a writer for the Montreal Gazette from 1952. His novel, The Lonely Passion for Judith Hearn, deals with an aging spinster. Spinster is a woman who hasn't been married, whose pretensions to past and future gentility are gradually crumbled into alcoholism. So he's speaking and talking about this topic of alcohol and women, and in this case of this woman. His following novel, The Lack of Ginger Coffee, 1960, concerns the sexual maladjustment of a bachelor school teacher. It portrays a middle-aged Irish failure who immigrates to Canada to look for the gold at the end of the rainbow. The Emperor of Ice Cream, 1965, deals with a rebellious and grandiose teenage boy who is shocked into manhood by the bombing of Belfast in World War II. Liam O'Flaherty is a novelist and a story writer whose works combine outright naturalism, psychological analysis, poetry, and biting satire, with great respect for the courage and persistence of the Irish people. He has been generally considered to be a leading figure of the Irish Renaissance in the 20th century. The Neighbor's Wife, 1923, The Black Soul, 1924, The Informer, 1925, Short Stories, 1973, Insurrection, 1950, Autobiography, Shame and Devil, 1934. And that last but not least, also, I suggest here that you should enter in more detail in the test in literary style of O'Connor's and study the plot, the characters of his playwrights. And that's it. I have finished with this. Very quickly, we have reviewed already all these people. I hope you enjoyed. If you find my content interesting, if you see that that this can help you to pass the civil exam next June 2023, please subscribe to my channel and comment something below. By the way, you will also find in my website a post where you could also answer the principal questions of this unit, the ones that I showed you at the beginning. Let me check if I can show you this again. These are the questions, and you can go to my website and answer there. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.